Good morning. This is the time and place for the planning hearing officers cases for November 2nd, 2011. My name is Laura Stotler, and I will be conducting the hearing today as hearing officer. We have two cases. The first case we have will be continued, so if anybody's here for that case, I just want to let you know. The case is located at 1023 East Colorado Street, Unit D. It's conditional use permit case PCUP 2011-018, and that will be continued to November 16th, 2011 hearing. But the case we do have one additional case which will be heard today. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker's forms, looks like this, which have been provided by the front door, and submit it to our planning assistant. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearings will proceed as follows. I'll read a description of the application request. I'll read the reports received or letters of communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward, stating both name and address. Will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to the testimonies given by the preceding speakers, and they will have 5 minutes to do so. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission, or a decision may be made today. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.43 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance shall be granted if 4 required findings are present. They are that the strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance, that there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not generally apply to other properties in the same zone or neighborhood, that the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare, injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And the fourth finding is that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing today meets the criteria just described, then the hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions of approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. The project will be taken under submission or approved, and based on the recommendations of findings. So the date on the decision the decision itself will be in writing, and the date on the decision will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either who spoke today, who left their address, or who gave us written comments and provided their address. The date of the decision will be the date actually appearing on the letter. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Again, that would be the date on the letter. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the appeal procedures from Building and Safety Section Permit Services, which is located on the same floor of this building. And now we'll start with the first case. The first project we have that we're actually going to hear today is located at 341 Sycamore Avenue. That's Standards Variance Case Number PVAR 2011-015. The applicant is Salpi Manukian. Owners Anatoly and Ekaterina Savachinova. I don't know if I got that right. The case planner is Brad Collin. This is an application for a standards variance requesting to construct a new 1,600 square foot, 2-story high single-family residence on a lot that is less than 5,000 square feet, and a setback variance to allow the first floor to have a 2-foot interior setback and a proposed second floor to have a 4-foot interior setback, where the interior setbacks are required to be 6 feet on the lot. The lot is located in the R1 low-density residential zone, floor area district number 2, described as Lot 31, tract 4758. In the comments that we've received from other departments, Public Works Engineering has noted that a grading or drainage plan shall be submitted for the Public Works Engineering's division review and shall be part of the building permit. They've noted that discharge shall be as approved by the city engineer An all-new and additional roof and on-site drainage shall be conveyed to the street via sheet flow through a private apron or cast iron pipes, parkway drains from the property line, and exiting through the curb per Public Works standards. All that would be under a separate permit. They've noted that the applicant shall provide street improvements along Sycamore Avenue in accordance with standard plans for Public Works construction. And they've noted that entire asphaltic concrete roadway pavement within the vicinity of the property will be inspected after completion of the construction of the project, and the applicant would need to repair all damage. They would need separate permits and fees for all work within the right-of-way, and the applicant would bear the costs for all that. They noted that the project shall comply with the National Pollutants Discharge Elimination System, also called NPDES, requirements. And the site is located within the liquefaction zone, as indicated on the State of California Seismic Hazard Zones map, and therefore they would need to comply with all the requirements of projects within that area. And they've also noted that a separate demolition permit would need to be issued by the city's Building and Safety Division as required, and that the existing sanitary sewer lateral serving the property must be capped at the property line prior to the start of demolition. The comments from Neighborhood Services, just in an effort to prevent nuisance conditions at the site, Neighborhood Service recommends that the property be continuously maintained free of junk, litter, debris, and overgrown dead vegetation at all times. Comments from Building and Safety Division are that all necessary permits shall be obtained from Building and Safety, and all construction shall be in compliance with the Glendale Building Code, that the premise shall be made available and accessible to any authorized city personnel for inspection to ascertain that all conditions of approval of this conditional use permit, and in this case a variance, are complied with, that additional or other building code requirements or specific code requirements may be required upon submittal of plans for building and plan check. They also noted that with this design that's been proposed, there's a need for an additional exit door required from the attached two-car garage, and the proposed door shall open from inside of the garage to outside without a key or special knowledge. We have standard Glendale Water and Power electrical engineering conditions. The applicant needs to contact customer service engineering to determine electrical service requirements before starting the project. Project personnel are responsible for maintaining a 10-foot radial clearance from all overhead electrical lines during construction. Permanent structures above ground will not be allowed under high voltage power lines with the exception of fencing. And they'll need to have a permit from GWP in order to put in the electrical. And they'll also need to be responsible for paying all fees for electrical service. And they've also noted that there's a requirement for a minimum 5-foot clearance to be maintained from the existing power poles in all horizontal directions. And any possible power pole relocations would need to be coordinated with GWP Electrical Engineering. We have no comments from traffic engineering, no comments from Dean Hartwell related to the trees. They have to preserve the oak trees on the site. Oh, here it was. It was separated from Dean. The rest, Dean did have additional comments. It appears that currently there's one mature coast live oak tree located in the front yard of the property and one juvenile coast live oak tree located on the adjacent property. The oak tree in the front is in a declining condition, and impacts from the proposed construction will be significant. Therefore, the tree is approved to be removed and replaced with a new 24-inch box indigenous tree species compatible with the new landscaping. In addition, there's a juvenile coast live oak along the east side of the neighboring property lines. Currently, plans do not reflect an accurate drip line on this tree. Distances from proposed construction to the tree trunk and canopy, all above ground improvements and second floor deck relationships to the tree canopy, et cetera, need to be shown. In addition, the plans do not include grading or drainage information. Encroachment on the neighboring tree may exist due to the site conditions and proposed constructions. It says, due to the proposed site demolitions and development, the applicant must provide an indigenous tree report prepared by a qualified tree expert that will address the outstanding issues before the final comments can be made by forestry section. And Brad, you're going to address that, correct? Okay. And then we have received comments from Pete Cook. He's noted that his home is in proximity to the property. The request here is please grant no variances except in remarkable cases that demonstrably improve the neighborhood. Please help ensure the quality of life in the neighborhood that exists. So it doesn't say whether they're for or against. They just have general concerns, it appears. We have a letter from Richard Greenwood. He notes an opposition to a variance request. He's a neighbor, and he doesn't want to see a 6-foot, anything less than a 6-foot setback. We have a neighborhood opinion. It looks like this is a survey of various neighbors, if they're for or against the project. It appears we have quite a few that are against the variance, and this was also submitted by Richard Greenwood. Notes that there's 25 property owners that feel it should be denied. And then we have signatures of those owners and addresses. It also notes that 2 residences are rented and 1 owner wanted to remain neutral and 2 residents were unavailable for their opinion. And when we have a letter from Josie Jaramillo, who is located at 3045 Sycamore, and they're noted that they're also, looks like they're against the project as well. And they're concerned with the setback and the distance. And I don't see any other letters in the file. Did anything come in this morning? No. Okay, with that, I would like to ask the case planner to make a presentation.
There we go. As mentioned, this subject property is located at 3041 Sycamore. Case number of PVAR 2011-015. It's a request for a standards variance to construct a new 1,602 square foot, 2-story, single-family residence on a lot that is less than 5,000 square feet and a setback variance to allow the first floor to have a 2-foot interior setback and the proposed second floor to have a 4-foot interior setback, where the setback is required to be 6 feet. The property is an interior lot. It's 30 feet wide by 133 feet deep, and as mentioned is zoned R1, which is low-density residential. Currently, there is a 784 square foot, 1-story single-story house with no garage, and the house was built in 1923 when it was part of LA County. The applicant is proposing to demolish the entire existing house, which causes any new house to meet the current code requirements. The new house will comply with all the various code requirements except for the 2 requested variances, the standards and setback variance. The zoning code requires new homes to have a 6-foot interior setback. The applicant is proposing 2 feet on the westerly portion, which is the side of the garage and a portion of the house about 8 feet long. The rest of the house on the first floor will be 5 feet. And then the applicant is also asking that a portion of the second floor on the eastern side to have a 4-foot setback. Now you can see too from the site plan that there is some modulation or variation of the different setbacks. The garage on the eastern side is about 7 feet away. Then it comes down to 5 feet. Staff is suggesting as part of this project, if the hearing officer is considering approval, that the eastern side also have a 5-foot setback rather than 4 feet, which is what is proposed.
Okay, so right now, in this area here, we have about a 6.5-foot setback?
Correct, but they're
And so this
proposing
is being reduced then
to 5 feet.
5, except for the garage.
Correct. And then on the other side, they're proposing on the first floor to be as close as 4 feet. Staff is recommending that the first floor and the portion of the second floor be at least 5 feet away from that property line.
Typically, if you have 5 feet on both sides and you have
Correct. Lot size is 4,005 square feet, where 5,000 square feet is required. The goal of the city in this situation is to combine the lots together to meet the minimum lot area. However, this cannot be done in this case due to the surrounding lots already being developed. Staff believes that the required 4 findings can be met for both the standard and setback variance and recommends approval with conditions, including the one suggestion for the 5-foot setback on the areas where it's not 5 feet now. And just a quick comment, there is an oak tree in the front of the property that is in declining condition.
the one that's surrounding here,
Correct.
or the walk, there's a little fence, little wall.
Right. And the Urban Forestry Division of Public Works has reviewed the plans and supports the replacement of that oak tree at the front, provided there is another indigenous tree placed on the property subject to the approval of the landscaping plan because of the condition of that tree.
Has the
No.
applicant provided any additional information based on the comments from,
That is this date.
about this tree, if this will be impacted by the first and second floor in this area?
That is this date. The applicant should be able to address that.
Okay.
And staff would like to note that we've received 3 letters, 2 in opposition and one petition to the proposed variance request. In addition, staff received 1 phone call from a neighbor at the rear of the property who supported the request but asked to keep the shrubs at the rear of the property since they help provide privacy for him. So that concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Location of the power pole?
Not
Saw that there's a power pole right in front in this area. Just want to make, and it looks like there's a bunch of power poles to the rear. I was just wondering if those are going to change at all.
I'm not aware of.
Right, I don't have
Morning. I can reach the mic. Yes. 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 I'm Salpi Manukian with SM Consultants, Inc. We are an environmental design company, and we specialize in, our expertise is in design and land use projects. I just want to say thank you to Brad for coordinating the city requirements with me and also informing me of the neighbors' expressed concerns. And I also want to thank the neighbors that came out today to be with us to express their concerns. I have prepared an exhibit B, which is a survey of the neighborhood that shows all the existing setbacks, side setbacks, and also some photographs of those houses that have 0 setbacks and 2 feet setbacks and so forth. Just want to show you that there are mainly 3 homes that have 30-foot wide properties with areas of 4,000 square feet or less, and they're all next to one another. And the setbacks on those are very minimal, like 0 inches to 12 inches to 15 inches, things like that. Just so we wanted to keep the 4-foot setback on one side of the property and do 5 feet on the other side, because that 5 feet setback, the 4-foot setback, will help us show the doorway to from the street level, because the door is now hiding besides the garage in the back. So if we cut it down to 5, if we make a setback of 5 feet, it will further hide the door, the entry door to the house. So we wanted to work with an average of 5-foot setback on the side rather than just a 5-foot setback that the staff is recommending.
So this is the door you're talking about right here?
Yes.
So if you cut it back, then you wouldn't be able to see the street, is that?
Right. So I can point this wall. If this wall went another 12 inches, the door is going to be completely hidden from the street because of the width of the property. So let me go over the findings with you on request number 1. Request number 1 is to allow the construction of a new house on a lot under 5,000 square feet in an R1 zone. Finding number A, how will the strict application of the provisions of any such ordinance result in a practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purpose and the intent of the ordinance? The size of the current house is 784 square feet and has no garage, and it was built in 1923. The house has deteriorated in every aspect, especially in the areas of energy savings, electrical and plumbing, and earthquake safety. The homeowner would like to improve their property to be able to meet today's standard of living and develop a 2-story house with 2 bedrooms and a 2-car garage. It is a hardship for a family of 4 to continue living in a deteriorated, substandard, and small structure. Finding B, what exceptional circumstances or conditions apply to the property involved or to the intended use of a development of the property that do not apply generally to other properties in the same neighborhood. As you can see in a survey that we provided, the average setback in that neighborhood is 2.7, side setback. And all lots in the neighborhood are developed and well maintained. This lot does not have the opportunity to be joined with other adjacent properties, and applying for a variance to build on this lot is unavoidable. Will granting of the variance, this finding number C, why will granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare? Granting the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare because it will give the homeowner the opportunity to demo a 1923 home that has been deteriorated and build a new home that will blend in with the other homes in the area that otherwise will remain vacant and may be unattractive for the neighborhood. Finding number D, why will granting of the variance be in keeping with the objectives of the ordinance? Even though the size of the lot is limited to 4,005, we are meeting all other requirements such as FAR, lot coverage, landscape area. Given the lot size of 4,005, asking for a variance is unavoidable. For any improvement or potential development given the lot size is, I'll just repeat. We can move on to request number 2, which is allow a side setback of 24 inches on the west side where the garage is located, and a side setback of 4 feet on the east side in lieu of 6 feet required in the R1 zone, which is, as you can see over here, Okay, this is the 24-inch setback area, and this is the 4-foot setback area. But we have an undulating side elevation where you can get more than an average of 5 feet setback if you take the average, because we have 7 feet on this side and we have 4 feet on this side. Over there we have 5 feet. Most of the house is at 5 feet on the east side. Where the garage is, we only have the 24 inches to be able to show the entry door to the house from this side. We can go over the findings for this one. How will the strict application of the provisions of any such ordinance result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance? The width of the subject property is 30 feet. A side setback of 6 feet on each side required by code provides a buildable width of 18 feet, which makes the proportions of a building narrow and not very functional. And a standard 2-car garage width is 21 feet to the outside, and we have a power pole on the southeast corner of the property that we want to keep, and so we can only access the property from the southwest corner, which limits the location of the garage and the driveway. To make the entry door visible, a 24-inch setback is requested on the garage side interior to get an entry area of 7 feet on the opposite side. And below we have some options that we considered while we were designing on this property. Brad and I worked on various plans where I can go over the ideas with you. We had Plan A, where we had a detached garage at the rear of the property and a house at the front with a 6-foot setback on the side. This would have triggered a variance for minimum 40% landscape, being below the 40% minimum required by the city of Glendale. And the requirement would leave the homeowner, this plan would leave the homeowner with a minimal backyard and with a 25-foot front setback. So Plan A wasn't very good because of those reasons. Plan B, where we considered to have a tandem garage at the front of the property, 13 feet wide by 41 feet long, attached to a 2-story house with a side setback of 6 feet. This layout would provide the homeowner with a 22 feet deep backyard and a very small bedrooms on the 2nd story, since the floor area is lost by 33 feet of an oversized garage over 400 square feet, and also the entry and also at the entry area. This option would trigger a variance for a larger floor area ratio, which is 40% what is recommended by code now. If we had done a tandem parking and a 2-story house in the back, we would have had to apply for an FAR and a landscape variance. We wanted to minimize the variances, so we thought about a Plan C, where we had a 2-car garage at the front of the property, completely detached, and a 2-story house in the back. Even though this idea worked with setback requirements and landscape area, there are 2 problems. Number 1, it doesn't give the homeowner and the neighborhood a nice curb appeal, and would hide the entry door and the 2-story building behind a dominant garage at the front of the property, and will not fit in a neighborhood where all 2-story structures are attached to the front garage with a 2nd story over it, and with an average side setback of 2.3 or 2.7 rather, and a visible entry door. It wouldn't have fit in the neighborhood had we done that. And Plan D, which is our desired option, was to have a 2-car garage at the front of the property attached to the residence with side setbacks of 24 inches on the west side and a garage of the garage and 5 feet for the residence, and a 4-foot setback on the east side. This fits in the neighborhood. I think this plan fits in this neighborhood, having the neighborhood survey that we have, and a minimum of 20 inches on the west side is going to be enough to have an entry door to be visible, and would provide safety to the fire department to access the property from both sides. This will provide the property with a curb appeal and improving the real estate value of the house for providing an attached garage with a visible entry door and a visible second story at street level. This layout produces efficient and useful landscape areas and will blend into the neighborhood. Finding number B, what exceptional circumstances or conditions apply to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other properties in the same neighborhood? It is one of the 3 30-feet wide lots left on this block, where most lots have been joined with other lots or have a 40-foot width. The subject property does not have the opportunity to be joined by other lots, and it is unique in its width, and most properties in Glendale have a lot width of 50 or more. Finding number C, why will granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare? Granting this variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare because it will blend into the neighborhood and would be the only way to improve the real estate value of this property and to allow it to be developed to its fullest potential, providing safety to its occupants and a pleasant curb appeal to the neighbors. Without this variance, it would be impossible for anyone to live, improve, or expand on this property and on any other properties like it. Finding number D, why will granting of the variance be in keeping with the objectives of the ordinance? Granting of the variance will be in keeping with the objectives of the ordinance because it will give the homeowner an opportunity to improve the quality of their life, enjoy the indoor spaces as well as the outdoor spaces to its fullest potential in a 2-bedroom home that is safe and blends in with other newly remodeled homes on small lots in this neighborhood. This completes the findings for this project, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Did you have any concerns with the comments that were listed from other departments?
Yes, I did go over Josie's letter. I did see Josie's letter, which is the neighbor on the west side, where we have the garage going at 24-inch setback. Actually, I prepared an exhibit, which is an Exhibit A, if we could pass that out. I drew a section from our proposed the proposed house going through the dining room window that she has, which is adjacent to the wall, to the bathroom wall. Yeah, if you could get one to you.
Did you want this one?
I see her concern, and basically she has four categories of concerns that she expressed. One was the
Well, it looks like she has a setback of 1.5 feet, and then you're proposing 2 feet. So
Right.
totally you're looking at 3.5 feet then between the structures.
right.
And I think she was concerned about that. She was concerned about her windows.
Right. So what I was thinking is we are aware of that, and we are going to lower the make few changes to the design where we lower the bathroom floor to the garage level. Instead of having the steps go from where we had it before, we now have moved the stairs so you go down to go to the bathroom, and that way we lower the roof level. If you look at Section A, Section A, we have the dashed line is where the roof used to be, and we have the new roof line, which is lower, 18 inches lower than what it used to be. So this will really help the view. If you look out the window, you will only see like a 2-foot wall, and then the second story is 5 feet away. On that side, it's 5 feet away from the property line, and we have no windows whatsoever on the lower wall, and we have insulation. We're going to have insulation to control the noise level, because she was concerned about the noise level. We're going to add insulation to the wall on the garage, and also we're going to shorten the eaves. The eaves used to be 12 inches. We're going to make them 4 inches, and put a gutter so that she will not have to worry about the rain coming over her property, or to reduce the mass of the roof.
Okay. And so your closest opening to the property line is 5 feet, correct, for your
Yes.
your window? Okay.
Yes.
So yours,
Yes.
your opening complies with the code?
Yes.
Okay. Whereas
On
the
the
other one is,
Yeah.
if it's less than 5 feet,
Yes.
it may not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we have a window on the second floor, which is a clerestory window, and it's at 5 feet 6 inches sill height, where a person cannot really look down into the neighbor's window, and that will protect her privacy as well.
Okay. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'll wait till I have to come back. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next, I'd like to call forward Richard Greenwood, followed by Josie Jaramillo or Jaramillo.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Richard Greenwood. I reside at 3037 Sycamore Avenue, Locker Center, California. I am on the east side of the proposed project.
Okay.
I've submitted a letter that you refer to dated October 31st, and my concerns are twofold. Well, actually more than twofold. First, as far as the setback for the building, should be a required 6-foot minimum. I did not set these minimums. It's the city of Glendale that set the minimums. I can understand variances, and a 2-foot setback on the west side is very impractical and should be considered a fire danger for egress should that neighbor need to go out that east window of her residence. Okay? Variances that are allowed should consider the totality of the requested project. However, this proposed project fails to comply with the standards of even a new structure for setbacks on both sides. The city of Glendale requires, I guess, that a 2-car garage be established for a new structure. I didn't request that the new structure be done, but the applicants requested that a new structure be done. Even though new variances or other variances would be requested on an addition or remodeling of the place, those variances could be adjusted another time. However, they chose to knock down the entire structure and change the entire neighborhood. I canvassed all of the residents in the 3000 block of Sycamore Avenue, and of those people, everyone that I talked to, with the exception of one, were opposed to the variances being approved. And again, you can read that at your leisure. The other issue that I have is concerning the variance and the size of the lot. The size of the lot is 4,005 square feet, and for this type of structure, you need 5,000 square feet. That's 1/5, almost 1,000 square feet this lot is lacking. I think this should be considered as a detriment not only to the piece of property but to the neighborhood in general. I didn't draw the property lines. The city has approved, the county has approved this residence. I've had this residence that's there 17 inches off my property line since I've been there for 37 years. I have no issue with that, but if you're going to knock it down, then adhere to the laws, which I did. Okay, the other thing that you bring up is the tree report of a juvenile oak on my property. I have no juvenile oak on my property. I have as you can see from what I've submitted, a very mature 5-foot diameter base oak that has a canopy of approximately 50 plus feet. It extends 7 feet over the applicant's property at this existing time. I'd like to know what is going to occur with that. Since they propose only a 4-foot setback, the city is recommending a 5-foot setback, and I've got 7 foot of tree hanging over there, and I've maintained that tree. Like I said before, the applicant has volunteered to do this, to remove more than 50% of the entire structure, so this should be a requirement that maybe they adhere to their request. How does staff know, since the applicant never submitted any plans for any remodeling, that this is the best way to improve this property? Let's see here. The granting of the variance, in the report that staff has done, the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such a zone. How about my rights? How about the rights of the person on the west side of their property? What is not injurious to my rights? I think that you could refer to that and think about it in your decision. Staff is recommending that the east side setback be put at 5 feet for both the first and second story. However, the applicant is not even willing to waive that. I didn't design the property again, and I didn't design the thing, but I know that there's going to be improvement, but the thing is whose fault is it that the property is in disrepair? It's the property owner, not mine. It's the property owner that hasn't maintained their property, and all of a sudden they think that it's shambles, and they should be able to go about their business and do whatever they want to. There's not a family of 4 that resides in that residence. There's a family of 3. The husband, the wife, and the about 15-year-old son. I don't know how they come up with 4, which was brought up just now. Does the plot plan depict my garage, which was a question in mine? It shows a plot plan. I don't have the ability to have a laser in my hand, unfortunately. But it depicts a garage of 472 square feet. Is that drawing accurate, that it's right on the property line?
According to the plan that was given to me, 3037 appears to have a 4-foot setback on the west side. Would that be accurate? The side closest to the subject property?
Correct. No, I'm asking 472 on the plot plan. It shows that there's a 472 square foot. If you look, you want me to approach and I'd show you? On this plot plan here, it shows an adjacent 2-story residence, but on the one that I've got from Mr. Collin before, let's see, I don't have a small one. It shows, oh, here it is, right here. 2-car garage, 272 square feet. Does this drawing depict that that the garage is right here?
I'll have to ask the applicant.
Okay, but it addresses it that this is the 2-car garage here.
Well, I just-
Footprint of the house actually locates the location.
Okay.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
But that's all my question is there. And also, the drip line is not correct. This drip line goes another 7 feet over this property line here.
Okay. Is your garage located to the rear of your parcel?
To the rear and on the other side.
Okay. And how wide is your parcel? Just out
My
of curiosity?
parcel is 60 feet wide.
60? Okay.
Okay. I'd like to also, other similar structures in your report, it says, other similar structures exist with the city with similar condition provisions have not been provided to be detrimental to the neighborhood. This project will not conflict with adjacent resident usage or adversely affect them. How can this report be written this way, since if Ms. Jaramillo wanted to improve her property, she would have to take the same type of design that they want to have improved and flip-flop it, so then they'd have another 2 feet and 2 feet. You know, it's something that should be considered. And, let's see here. Again, in closing, I'd like to see that this project proceed on, not with the variances that are requested, but maybe they can go back and redesign it. Maybe the city should get out of its idea or its mindset that 2-car garages are required. Maybe they don't need a 2-car garage at all. The problem is design a project that is fittable for that piece of property, that is not injurious to either property owner on the other side, on each side of the property. And in closing, I'd like to know where the report is that staff said that it was going to be done for the tree. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Josie Jaramillo, followed by Gilbert. I'm sorry, I can't read the last name.
Good morning. I'm Josie Jaramillo. I'm at 3045 Sycamore Avenue on the west side of the property of 3041. Mr. Greenwood has pretty much addressed all my concerns, although they have made some alterations to their plan, and I'm happy about that, but I still have a lot of concerns. 2 feet of a setback from my property means I can almost literally stick my hand out my windows and touch their walls. I'm concerned about fire. I walk those streets, I walk the neighborhoods. I have seen that kind of a setback with windows on one property and garages and bathrooms on the other side and whatever else without windows. They are not pleasing to the eye. The property on my west side has a similar situation. When you look at the property, it is not pleasing. The neighbors unfortunately bought the houses, and that's the way they were built prior to them ever occupying them. They are not particularly happy about what they were dealt. My concerns about fire, I have major concerns, especially that we are in a fire area. I realize the narrowness. I have lived in houses that are that narrow. Back east has a lot of them like that. Again, I think Glendale needs to re-examine the use of this property, and a requirement for a 2-car garage can be reconsidered. If anyone goes down the street, and I was told by someone in building that one of the reasons Glendale likes to have 2-car garages is to keep cars off the street. Well, anyone that goes down that street will know most people do not use their garages for the cars. So I still have major concerns. I am probably on that block, the last property with that small of a lot, and I have thought about rebuilding and had great concerns when I found out that Glendale required a 2-car garage, because I knew the impact not only to my neighbors on the east that are trying to rebuild and the one on the west. So what I would have done had I rebuilt, I would have requested a 1-car garage. Anyway, I would like for it to be reconsidered, because I think the value of my property will not go up after this is built. It will be questionable because of the 2 foot. And unfortunately, we're both were in properties that we had nothing to say about how they were split, and we're having to deal with that now. I thank all of you and Mr. Greenwood for bringing up all the same concerns I have for the neighborhood, and this does set a precedent for Glendale. Not only our neighborhood, many neighborhoods where this same situation could occur.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Gilberto?
Durso.
There's-
I'm a resident at 3416 Henrietta in La Crescenta, and also work at 2412 on Honolulu Avenue.
Okay.
I'm friends of the owners, and Tolek was here this morning, but he had conflicting schedules that he couldn't meet, let the other one go, so I came over to speak. The house is 1912, 1917. It is, in my opinion, a fire dangerous in nowadays, which would put the neighbors into a very difficult situation because the house needs to be remodeled. The other houses on east and west have been remodeled since. I'm looking at the picture on the screen there, and they're much newer than that. And yet, the setback of the other two houses is zero. It's within the limit of the property. They have no place to go. The neighbors have the property to the limit of it. Was built, not fault of their own, but Glendale allowed at that time. I don't know. So, I think for Glendale, for the neighborhood, it will be an improvement to have this house built as requested with the 4 feet, 5 feet easement allowance. And that's it. And the two-car garage, I agree. If it could be done in one car, but Glendale doesn't allow that. So Glendale is at fault. The neighborhood was built before the easement, the tolerance was established. The lot is 30 feet. Putting a house less than that, than the width they are requesting, would not be practical. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to call it, well, first of all, I would ask, is there anybody else who would wish to speak who has not submitted a form and would like to do so now? If not, then I'd like to have the applicant come up and then answer some of the concerns that were raised, and then I would like to know about the Oak Tree report. Have you done one, and is there one that does address this neighboring property?
We did hire a private arborist, and she wrote a report, and she specified that the diameter of that oak tree was 24 feet 3 inches to the property line, and it couldn't have overhanged 7 feet because she only said it overhangs like 12 inches, which will be trimmed by the end of next year. The homeowners will trim their trees at that point to not go beyond the property line. If you look at this picture here, let me see. Okay, here's the existing house. This is the existing house.
Okay.
And this is where the oak tree is. See, the oak tree cannot even go over that property because there is a house there right now. It stops right at the edge, and it overhangs by small branches that would have to be trimmed anyway by this homeowner. And Anna Marie was not concerned about that overhang as well. She went out there and she looked at it, and she said that it's not going to damage the roots of this tree. The 4-foot setback is very good, and she was happy with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised at Mr. Greenwood's testimony because his property is 60 feet wide, and he has a 4-foot setback on a 60-foot wide property. Ours is like 30 feet, and we're asking for 4 and 5, and we don't have the opportunity to join our lot with the neighbors like he did. He has a joint lot. And as far as Josie's, we took care of her issues on the letter by changing our design, and applying for a one-car garage in the city of Glendale is an added variance item that we wanted to avoid, and a two-car garage is required for any single family, and I know the city is very strict about that, and it's not something that we can easily apply for and get an okay for that, a one-car garage parking. And the homeowner wanted to have that space, the two-car garage, for his 2 cars.
Okay. Then I do have a picture that was submitted by the neighbor. I just wanted, is this your house now?
Yes.
That is your house? So that's the oak tree branches overhanging?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a picture from the neighbor's house.
And so this is a neighbor's backyard, and then this would be your house?
This would be our house. Yeah, they would have to trim all of that.
Okay.
That's what the arborist said.
The arborist is, okay then. All right. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add to address any of the concerns from your neighbors? They raised the issue of setbacks. They raised the issue of the garage, privacy.
Yes, I wouldn't worry about fire because we are going to have a 1-hour wall along the property, for the garage wall. It's going to be 1-hour wall, and it's going to be insulated. And I think that the fire damage is pretty much contained. I mean, the fire hazard is going to be contained if we have a 1-hour wall and no openings on that side whatsoever. Other than that, the one-car garage option is not an option that the owner wants to consider. He wanted to have a 2-car garage, and we didn't want to add another variance to the project.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Having no other speakers, I will take this item under submission, and the hearing is now closed.
If you have a comment or question regarding Channel 6 programming, call us at 818-548-4013.